We begin NFL Live with breaking news out of Dallas. Let's go right to Adam Schefter for the latest. What's going on, Adam?
Laura, Dak Prescott is dealing with a hamstring injury that ended his day Sunday and now is expected to sideline him for quote-unquote several more weeks. The Cowboys will consider putting him on injured reserve, and that would bring some clarity here and sideline him a minimum of 4 games. But he's been getting second opinions on how to treat this hamstring injury. He described it after the game yesterday as a feeling the likes of which he had never felt before. He couldn't finish the game. He's not going to play on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. And now the question will be how much time the most expensive player in all of football finally will miss. And as Dallas tries to keep its season alive, it will have to do it without Dak Prescott. Now, they are potentially getting back CeeDee Lamb on Sunday. He's got a sprained AC joint in his shoulder, and he might be able to play. And it looks like Micah Parsons also will have a chance to make it back for Sunday's game, despite the fact that he's missed the last 4 games with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, it feels like you're just adding injury to insult, literally, to what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys here. We welcome you into the show. Adam with us throughout, as there's lots of news. Marcus Spears, Ryan Clark, Mina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky as well. Of course, we're in Kansas City in front of Monday Night Football. It's raining right now. The rain isn't supposed to be as severe as we thought. We'll get you ready for Bucs Chiefs in just a little bit. But let's start with this news about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. I'll go to you first, Swagoo. What do you think?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Obviously, it's a season that feels like just keeps compounding with bad news. The one silver lining is your backup has played a lot of football in Cooper Rush. The difference is when he played, there was a lot more talent around him from an offensive standpoint. It's just all bad. And then you think about Dak's new contract. You think about the team and the leadership of him trying to bring them out of a hole. It's still midway through the season, a lot of time left. I'm interested to see, though, how Cooper Rush plays in this particular situation when you are devoid of a lot of talent, and God forbid that CeeDee is not able to go based on pain in his shoulder. But it's just unfortunate. It feels like a microcosm of the season that's already happening.
This is the worst-case scenario for the Dallas Cowboys. You take the entire offseason to get both CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott signed to a contract. You have a team that's not competing as well as you like that team to compete in the beginning of the season. And now that quarterback, who's the richest quarterback or richest player in NFL history, is going to miss time with that hamstring injury. And so if you're Jerry Jones, if you're Mike McCarthy, and you're trying to figure this thing out, you're in a tough spot. How are you expecting Mike McCarthy to win with a roster that from the beginning, from top to bottom, wasn't built to compete, and now your best football player on offense is also not available? And so this is a very difficult spot for this team to be in.
RC, that suit is absolutely spectacular, bub. That thing looks
Thank
so
you,
good, man.
He reps the home team.
That looks so good. Okay, so if Dak Prescott gets placed on IR with this hamstring, the Cowboys need to ask the very real question, do they become sellers very quickly? They got about 24 hours to do it. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb account for 46% of their cap next year, about $120 million. There's no way to rebuild this roster without picks. If Dak goes on IR, they got to really kind of ask the question of, like, do they trade Micah Parsons? Can they trade DeMarcus Lawrence?
Whoa.
Can they trade Zach Martin? Can they trade Brandon Cooks? I know that sounds extreme, but this is not a good football team right now. It's certainly not going to be better without Dak Prescott. And because of the way those contracts are set up and the cap hit and the lack of talent, they got to start to think about the future if Dak is going to be gone for a minimum of 4 weeks.
I agree with you, although I'll say if the Dallas Cowboys even take a call on Micah Parsons, I will walk into the Pacific Ocean. That's not happening. However, DeMarcus Lawrence, definitely on the table. Jordan Lewis is another name I would throw out, guys who are not on long-term contracts. I'm going to try to spin this in almost a positive way for Cowboys fans. You have clarity, right? This season, you're not going on a playoff run. I think that was before Dak Prescott got injured. So for me, at this point, it's not just about becoming a seller at the deadline. It's about pivoting and thinking, what is your plan for next year? How can we fix this run defense? There are good players on this roster. They actually have not a lot of cap space, but they're not like the New Orleans Saints, who we're going to talk about later. So they are in a position to improve next season, and I actually think that process needs to start right now.
Yeah, things don't get easier for Dallas, right? They've got the Eagles coming in week 10. It'll be the 5th straight week the Cowboys are underdogs, their longest streak since 2015. A lot to look at there. Sunday was Lamar Jackson's 6th career game with as many or more passing touchdowns as incompletions. That matches Peyton Manning and Drew Brees for the most such games in NFL history. I don't know if there's anything you couldn't like about yesterday for Lamar, but Mina, what did you like most about the way that he played in this game?
I mean, I think it's worth putting it in context first. The Browns defense has been incredible, or Broncos, pardon me, defense has been incredible this year. They ranked first in the NFL in EPA per play. They were putting the clamps on passing attacks, and Lamar Jackson dropped a perfect passer rating on them all day long. He was feathering balls over second-level defenders. He was leading guys upfield. His ball placement was perfect. According to our tracking, he had one off-target pass the entire day, and it was a dump-off at the goal line because guys were covered in the end zone. I know I'm not going out on a limb here to say that he should be the favorite for MVP. Everybody agrees, and what he's doing this year is incredible, but I just wanted to stress what he did yesterday came against an exceptional defense, which is a big part of why it was so unbelievably impressive.
Week by week, I get blown away how good he's become as a play-action passing quarterback. This was a young man that entered the NFL as a dynamic athlete that had playmaking ability, and it was an RPO type of game, and they ran a little bit of a pro-style system coming out of school. And then when he got into the league under Greg Roman, it was run-centric, run-centric, run-centric. And we've watched this evolution of the offense that's around him, and now when they run play action, it's a given almost that you're going to get a chunk completion. The way that he has dove into, watch out his feet on all this stuff. One hitch, two hitch, ball comes out. One hitch, two hitch, ball comes out. Some of those touch throws that Mina intimated at, it was such a mature performance of perfection. To watch a young, I don't want to say young man, but to watch Lamar play a rhythmic style of football, but then when the rhythm is taken away, still have the special style of football, there's just not a lot of people that can play to that style or that brand or that demand. And he does it making it look easy.
What I loved about yesterday and listening to both Mina and Dan was evolution, right? Maturation. We're actually watching him evolve and mature right before our eyes. And yesterday, if Lamar could have been a guy that was cut off at the waist with the way that he played with his head and his arm yesterday. But to me, it was going into halftime, 54 seconds left in the second quarter, finding a way to score with that big pass to Zay Flowers that gets them in the end zone, and then coming out of half and scoring on the first drive or the first possession. This is the way the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are used to doubling up teams at the end of the half and the start of the second half. And we're starting to see Lamar Jackson have that sort of control from the pocket as a quarterback. And you are right. Mina talked about feathering the ball. Dan talked about making the things look so easy. Against the Cleveland Browns, it looked like Lamar had to press or was pressing to make the big play. He allowed everything to come to him yesterday against the Denver Broncos, who, as Mina has already mentioned, is a dang good defense.
Adam, what is going on in New Orleans? Give us the latest.
Laura, Dennis Allen became the second head coach this season to be fired in the NFL. We remember Robert Saleh a few weeks ago, and now the Saints have moved on from Dennis Allen. The Saints won 2 games to open their season. They were averaging over 40 points per game. They looked like they could be one of the surprise sleeper teams of the season. And since then, it's gone crash and burn. They've lost 7 straight games, including yesterday's loss at Carolina, which might have been a low point for the season. There was a sense in the post-game locker room that Dennis Allen was ultimately going to be fired, and that's exactly what happened today. He was let go. The Saints have named Darren Rizzi, the special teams coordinator, as the interim head coach, and New Orleans now will begin turning its attention to Sunday's matchup against Atlanta and who will be the next head coach in Atlanta, not to mention the trade deadline on Tuesday with teams calling the Saints to see if they would be interested in moving players like Marshawn Lattimore.
Ooh, that'll be interesting to watch. RC, obviously, the Saints have had a totally Jekyll and Hyde season, right? When things started to downturn. What do you think about this?
Well, I think the one thing I do know, because a lot of my family members and friends are Saints fans, there's a second line on Bourbon Street today. Because throughout this 7-game win streak, if I heard one more time Dennis Allen has to go, I would have lost my mind. When you look at a team that starts this season with over 90 points in the first 2 games, a blowout of the Carolina Panthers, and what really started the benching of Bryce Young, now you fold all the way back around 8 games later, and Bryce Young beats you after being reasserted into the lineup. You have Saunders saying, we just lost the doo-doo toilet bowl. You have Cam Jordan apologizing to the entire city. That lets you know that it's not just about the X's and O's. It's about something in that building not being enough for leadership, not getting these guys prepared to play. And this was a decision that you had to make before the season gets long and you continue to lose these games.
Last year, they were able to scapegoat with Pete Carmichael.
Yeah.
Last year, we saw remnants of this team being very bad. But offensively, you could justify because they weren't playing well. They come out with Kubiak this year. They set the world on fire. We like, oh, we got to put the Saints in the conversation for an NFC team. And then you see them fall off. And I think the perplexing thing for Ms. Benson, the ownership there, is that you got DeMario Davis on this team. You got Tyrann Mathieu. You got Marshawn Lattimore. You got Cam, who hasn't even been playing much on defense. They are not devoid of talent in New Orleans. They have zero direction. And nobody has given answers, which is the coach's job, on how to pull yourself out of this. I'm going to tell you this, all right? And I understand the NFL. We played in a long time. It's hard as hell to lose 7 games.
Yes.
You can luck up and win one.
The Carolina Panthers ain't lost 7 in a row.
I'm telling you, dude. So it was probably something in the works weeks before this, but I think it's the right decision. They got to retool.